If you don't know me, I'm Rachel Hine. I'm the editor-in-chief of NERDIST and Geek and Sundry, and I'm super excited to questions. You can line up right there anytime you want. So, without further ado, NERDIST news writer Eliza Pearl. Two of our illustrious producers, Aaron Vale and Steven Zerwinski. And of course, the hostess with the mostest, Jessica Chobot. And B-Comp, who you guys never see, but he's here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so Dan and Kyle are running behind, so we have two wonderful stand-ins. So if they do any Dan and Kyle isms, just roll with it. So
give us a good Kyle. Give us a good Kyle.
Yeah. Okay, we need a Dan now.
On today's episode of the Dan Cave.
Very good.
Pretty good.
So when they run in here dramatically at some point, let's give them a round of applause. They're stressed out right now. So, on NERDIST News Talks Back, as you guys know, we talk about everything that's going on. So, Jess, you are a resident game maven. What has been your favorite game so far this year?
This year, probably Zelda Breath of the Wild. I've been playing it pretty much non-stop. I'm going to make some bold... Is it technically this year? Because I guess it came out
in the
right
past
before.
year.
Yeah, I'm going to go
past
with it.
year. Doesn't need to be this year.
I've also been playing a lot of Stardew Valley. I've been really into a lot of mobile games lately. I highly recommend, and I actually wrote it down because I couldn't, I kept confusing it with Sleepaway Camp, but it's called Slayaway Camp. I highly recommend it. It's a mobile game. It's all kind of like Minecraft graphics, and it's a puzzle. It's like a little puzzle game, all about like B-movie murdering. It's really good. I highly recommend it, and it's done in like really like a tongue-in-cheek kind of way, so you don't feel too guilty. And then The Room, Old Sins is out now. I'm a big Room fan. I highly recommend that one as well. I mean, I've got a ton that I'm playing, and then I personally am replaying Just Cause 3. Yeah, awesome. So that one's pretty awesome too.
Well, if you guys don't know, we also have a special show called What the Fridays, which is on Alpha, that has recently launched. That's on Fridays from 1 to 2, and we talk about more in-depth stuff. There's games. It's a little bit heightened, so we actually have a promo that we are ready to show you guys.
Yeah, apparently there's a blooper reel that we're going to show that I haven't seen yet. So, and I thought, oh, well, then is it just the one that we roll out at Christmas time? No, it's new.
It's new.
So I don't remember giving final approval because I haven't seen this at all.
Nope.
Very curious.
You can blame Shaw.
We'll see. You know, don't forget, I can make your lives living hell.
She does.
I'm sure it'll be great.
Yes, we do have a blooper reel at the end of the panel, but I have to say that is exactly what it's like working at NERDIST all the time. Everyone's getting into very heated, but loving arguments. So, what do you guys think so far? I think Star Wars has been the most kind of divisive. We're in the past couple months. What do you guys think about how that's gone?
Well, The Last Jedi?
Yeah.
Yeah, The Last Jedi has like torn The Office in half. There's literally like, yes, this is the best movie of all time, or the hell with this movie, what did Rian Johnson do? I mean, we are constantly getting fights with the VPs and the EPs about this. I don't know, Chobot, what is your thought on it?
I actually run pretty neutral. I mean, I think that there are, overall I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a fun movie. I really liked certain parts of it, and there was a lot that I didn't like about it either, which I think is actually really smart, that I can kind of roll in a little detached, because that way because I'm usually the one leading the arguments or the discussion because of the roundtable, so I get to see both people's point of view. If I had to lean one way or the other, all right, so really Canto Bight could have completely been deleted. I hated that scene. But otherwise, listen, gosh, I liked the finger touch. I was like, oh yeah, this is, like, Aaron and I are really big Kylo Raylo, sorry. I'm running on like 0 with itness because of so much cold medicine that I've been on. But yeah, we're big Raylo shippers, and we're both, and we're not,
Raylo
yeah.
is canon.
Like,
It's
listen, I know it's a very controversial subject to be into that, but I can't help myself. I'm into it. Yeah. Like, listen,
I just can't believe that was the movie, you know?
Yeah.
The whole movie was just
The whole
Raylo.
movie was just him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Really did double down.
I did like, I mean, their fight scene too was fantastic. That throne room fight scene, with the exception of how they got rid of what's his ass, Versace, looked great. I mean, the whole, like, when they both went back to back, it looked fantastic. I'd been waiting for a scene similar to that for a long time.
I'm a very reluctant Raylo shipper. It's
Yeah.
like, it feels wrong.
It is wrong, but that's what makes it good.
It's terrible. So
Have you watched Game of Thrones?
Yeah. Is Star Wars now just gonna be Game of Thrones though? Is that what we're going towards?
I mean, they hired the showrunners.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's true.
What about you, Steven?
Speaking to the mic.
I love
Is
I
that one
love
on?
The Last Jedi.
It's not on. Hit the button.
I love The Last Jedi. I think Canto Fight was necessary for
What?
the whole thing to come together.
agree, Steven.
I will
Yes.
fight for that.
Listen, all right, so here's the deal. I'm not saying it wasn't necessary. You definitely
I
needed
did.
some glue, but
Yeah.
it didn't need to be as long as it was. And I didn't need the morality story in it either. Because we had enough morality stories happening.
You don't like Space Forces?
The thing is I just felt like there was I never got a good chunk from anybody's particular story. It was very spread out for me, and it kind of came in little bits and pieces. The point is, you're allowed to have your opinion, and I don't know why I'm
Thank
talking.
you. Thank you. It's okay. This is a good conversation. I'm a big Finn, Poe, Rose thruple shipper. So yeah, that's all I want.
Support that. Cool. I think that's all we got.
That's fair. So Jess, there's a Street Fighter TV show in the works. Do you think one of those games could warrant a TV show?
Oh, like one of the ones I mentioned? You know, I think the biggest, we kind of got into this a little bit actually on What the Fridays yesterday. Yes, yesterday was Friday.
Nice plug.
What the Fridays yesterday. Yes, plug. About what games we thought would make good television shows. And I think when you come across, like, don't get me wrong, I would love to see, and I brought this up then, like a kind of a character-driven, maybe Street Fighter show that's like if Chun-Li was Lady Snowblood kind of thing would be really cool. But I do think a lot of the time trying to adapt video games into movies or TV, the problem is the characters themselves are so iconic, you have a hard time disassociating yourself from how you know them in game and the game stories and the game world. So, you know, game stories and game world doesn't necessarily translate well into how you're able to shoot a TV or a movie or a TV show or a movie. So you got to kind of give and take, and if you're already kind of locked in to such a fan mentality, it's hard to detach. And I don't think that's anybody's fault necessarily, it just is what it is. But if you lean more, so like something like games that have really like iconic characters, it's really tough to do that. But I think there's some games out there like Myst or Riven, which if you got the right, you know, budget and studio and production behind it, could be could be amazing because you're familiar with it enough that you like that world, and the world is really rich and you can go in a lot of different places. But you know, it's not necessarily, you know, Mario. So you're not automatically like preconceived notions on how you want that character to behave. I actually think, even though I think a Metroid movie would be really dope, or a Metroid TV show. But again, you know, another iconic character that you would have to play that really, really, really smart.
Hey, Chobot, do you think it would work better as a TV show as opposed to movie? Like the TV format is better, or?
I don't know either way which would be better because we're just like, who knows, but I would lean for that, something like that, and even the Mist and Ribbon suggestion. I would lean more with the way that TV budgets have been. If you can get like an HBO or an AMC behind it, I think something like that could, like, like a Westworld quality version, I think would be amazing.
I would watch the shit out of a Mist.
Right? Like, right, I know.
It would be so cool with the library and...
Yep. Yeah. I'm totally on board.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. But that's what I mean, like, you got to kind of go off the beat. Like, the Firewatch movie that was proposed a few years back, I think that had some potential because, cool game, interesting world, but it's not, Zelda, so you're not attached to it as strongly. So I think you'd be a little bit more flexible on how they would approach you story-wise.
Yeah, that's actually, I feel like that happened with Annihilation. I think books and video games are similar in that they explore kind of more character development, and so reading a book or playing a game and then seeing the movie, you can I think we're used to detaching ourselves a little bit because the mediums are so different. But what do you guys think? Has there been any sort of adaptation from books or comic book? I mean, we talk about comic books a lot, but books and video games specifically that you guys thought did a really great job or disappointed you beyond belief?
Well, I think Annihilation, like you just said, was really exciting the way they adapted that novel because it was so much more different from the book than I expected it to be, and it made sense because that book, the way it reads, is not cinematic. It would be very difficult to translate it as it is onto the screen. So I think they did a really smart job of like taking the elements that are mysterious and exciting and terrifying about that world and translating them into like the visual medium. And I thought it was awesome.
I'm going to go ahead and say that, oh shit, I just forgot what I was going to say. I'm going to say that the one that disappointed me the most was probably, and I think you can get behind me on this, the His Dark Materials, right, the Philip Pullman. I mean, I was such a fan of those books, and I even read the Lyra's Oxford little mini book that was out, and I was so stoked for the movie. And I got super pissed because I'm like, dude, like I at least take out our Invisalign for the close-ups. Jesus Christ! Like, come on, did you guys even try? It's like, oh.
Yeah,
I know. I'm fingers crossed. I haven't been completely burned off of it yet. Like, I'm hoping they pull it off because I think that would be great. And then for one that I think's a success, I did have one, and it's completely gone out of my head.
Cold medicine can do
that. Oh my gosh.
But
you guys,
I
was so proud of myself. I hadn't been sick for a whole year, and then I came home and it got destroyed.
Well, not to plug, but on Alpha Book Club, we're actually reading The Golden Compass next month, and I have made Hector Navarro pinky swear that he will not watch the movie before we read the book, which he did not want to promise, but I made.
He's going to break that
I remember.
promise.
Interview with
It breaks you. Wow.
He's going to break that promise.
He can't. Don't let him watch
I
it.
won't let him.
I remembered which one. Interview with a Vampire, the movie, while the book listen, The Vampire Lestat was infinitely better than Interview with a Vampire, the book.
Yes.
However, out of that entire series, I would say that the Interview with a Vampire movie, I still really dug.
It's so good. It's campy.
Yeah.
Oh, we heard a Yas out there. That's great.
You know what? And I don't know. Can we also say, like, the first... I mean, we can toss comic books in, right? Yeah. So I'm going to also say the first Crow.
Oh,
The first Crow movie. Also, one of the best soundtracks of all time, in my opinion.
every word you just said was true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vampire Armand would be very cool. I think, that's also being adapted into a TV show with Brian Fuller, and the only way I would not be mad about him leaving American Gods is that he's doing the Vampire Chronicles.
That or Hannibal 4.
Yes.
I'd rather go.
Gone Girl is also an excellent movie adaptation of a good book.
Yeah.
It just really captures the tone of the book and the unease, and Ben Affleck is good at playing a piece of shit, so.
Yeah, too bad he couldn't get the tattoo into that film, though,
Yeah, he could have had it then.
It's real.
I know, it's
I'm the queen
it's a
of
choice.
that too.
It's a choice.
It's so much.
It's a lot. So, Eliza, you're a resident space superfan. What's your favorite piece of fiction set in outer space?
It's not embarrassing. I was going to say it's slightly embarrassing. It's a book that I read as a kid, which was The Starlight Crystal by Christopher Pike.
Wait. What? I've read that.
Have we
I've
not?
never met anyone else who's read
We
that
haven't talked about
I
this.
know.
Oh my god.
It's wait. doesn't every movie that deals with like time, when you watch it, you're just like, Starlight Crystal did it first.
Yeah. Yeah. The Starlight Crystal is really dope. It's time travel, and it's about like the creation and destruction of the universe, and it's an 18-year-old girl who has to save everyone. It's just awesome, and I love it so much. And so it's not like high art or literature, but that's my favorite space-based one. And it also has some pretty good actual like scientific backing behind it, or not backing, but like there's a little bit of actual science in it in terms of like time dilation and things like that. So yeah, that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a good answer, and also I refuse the idea that our favorite things or things that we love or things that we think are good art have to be considered high art too. So
You're right, absolutely.
So don't be ashamed, because like
Okay.
we're gonna have to talk about this afterwards, because I've
Yes.
never met anyone else who's read that book, and it's so good. What about the rest of you guys? Favorite space stories?
Star Trek.
Period. Why?
Because it's awesome.
Such an easy answer. You have to justify that.
No, I don't. The Star Trek is awesome. I've been going to conventions since I was 8. Those are the best things ever. Like, the thing about Star Trek that's just awesome is it shows like what humanity can aspire to and be something better than everything else, and it's still rooted in science fiction. As much as I love Star Wars and it is awesome, it's science fantasy. But if we're talking about fiction, I really do enjoy Star Trek, and specifically Next Gen. That's my jam.
I agree with all that too.
I would amend. I would also say Star Trek for the same reasons. I love stories about people who have to come together and work together, but I would switch mine from Next Gen to DS9. Just because that was one of the first shows I remember watching every week, that and Andromeda, which was the worst.
Yes.
Every time.
I know we've talked about Star Wars a little bit, so I won't say that, but we also on Alpha Book Club read The Martian Chronicles, which I was really enjoying. So that was just a really cool kind of outward look at a different planet, but also a commentary on Earth life. So Martian Chronicles, definitely.
For space stuff, book-wise, I don't have a ton for some reason. I'm not sure why. I there is one author that I used to read a lot of, and for some reason, I'm obviously slipping my mind, but in general, I really, because of just my video game background, really enjoyed the first Mass Effect. I thought it really was amazing. I even, actually, honestly, I liked all of them. 3 was okay. 2 was a good successor to 1. 1 was outstanding. Andromeda is
It's on sale.
more of the same, and it's on sale. It's not bad. It's just, as a Mass Effect fan, you're gonna like it just because it's Mass Effect. But I wasn't as emotionally involved in that one as the other series. And then I also really enjoyed Event Horizon. That was the first time I was ever exposed to space being scary because of paranormal reasons, not necessarily because there was things outside in space that was coming after you. It was just that there was weird stuff happening. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's not like, oh, I'm lost in space and need to survive because I'm running out of oxygen, or there's some other outward physical manifestation problem. It's more like you didn't know what was happening, and so that, to me, that kind of those two worlds colliding was really interesting, and I was completely freaked out, and I totally loved it.
I want to add one more. So I know the movie did not do well, but if you just watch the first intro of Valerian again, if you're a Star Trek fan and you like that hopefulness, that intro of Valerian is actually really solid. And then that's it.
Okay.
I thought
It's on Amazon Prime. I'll watch it.
I just rewatched it on Amazon Prime, and I was like, oh yeah, this part was good.
I thought the style of Valerian was beautiful. I thought it looked great.
Gorgeous.
Oh!
We've spotted a please rescue me.
Get out of here, fake Dan. Get out of here, fake Dan.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 2018 Nerdist WonderCon. Anyway, I'm so sorry I'm late. I had to park in Burbank and I ran here. How you guys doing? Did I miss anything?
Good. Yeah.
Anyway, as an apology, I want everyone to reach under their seat. You will either find a piece of gum or a lock of Kyle Hill's hair.
Yeah.
If it's not there, I'll mail it to you. So where do we leave off? I
So we've
apologize.
been talking about, we'd covered the video game stuff, what we want to see. Stuff. Yeah.
All right, let me open it up to possibly the most burning question I had with this panel today. I was going to save it, but here we are. Rachel, I'm going to start with you for this one. Who is the greatest cat in pop culture and why?
All right.
Show your work.
It's a very difficult question to answer. There are so many good cats out there. They're all good, but I thought about this long and hard. I prepared last night. I did some YouTube watching of clips. Research. Just, which one's the fluffiest? I mean, what are the categories that we're talking about?
A category?
A category. Are they cute? Can they talk? Well, yeah. Do they have special powers? There's all sorts of things to consider, but
He's right there in the first row. He's waiting for your answer.
Oh, no. Well, I'm gonna say, I do see there's so many of them. Okay, Zachary Binks. That's what I'm saying, Zachary Binks.
Zachary Binks?
Zachary Binks.
Does anyone on the panel want to refute this important discovery?
I don't even know what cat that is.
He's from Hocus Pocus. Oh. Look, he's protected Salem for 300 years, trying to stop dumb kids from getting drunk and lighting a black flame candle and letting Bette Midler come back. His dad he's a tragic character. His dad doesn't even recognize him. He just hangs out all by himself. Then he finds a family, he rescues the town. His life is fulfilled. He's a good big brother. Come on. Anyone want to challenge?
Sounds amazing. I would like to also offer Luna from Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's my favorite pop culture cat. And similarly, Luna is a hero, a freaking hero, and also a manager of heroes. That's a tough job to manage several other heroes, and you're not even human. You're a tiny cat. Like, that's awesome.
Especially one as distracted as Usagi is.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Artemis is awesome as well.
Look, they're all good cats. We've established this. Even Meowth has his moments. It's just a job. Let's shift gears a little bit. Have we talked about Alpha Book Club at all? A little bit. A little bit?
A little.
Oh, yikes. Well, everyone loves a good reboot of a question. Have we talked about the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all?
Nope.
Well, folks, you may have heard this week, news is broken that Chris Evans may be done as Captain America. Going to hang up the shield after the now untitled Avengers 4. Is he going to die in Infinity War? By round of applause, clap if you think Cap's going to die. What is wrong with you clapping for the death of a war hero? Come on. Guys.
Oh, Dan.
By a round of applause, clap if you think Tony Stark is going to die. By a round of applause, clap if you think that Thanos looks like a California raisin that did CrossFit. At last, something we can all agree on. But regardless, Chris Evans' departure and potentially the departure of other characters is going to leave a gaping hole in this universe that Marvel has spent 10 years building now. I know we've discussed this a little bit this week on Nerdist News Talks back every day at 1 p.m. Pacific Time live on YouTube and Alpha. But I want to talk about it here with you guys. What do you think about this? Like, who do you think should take that place? Who do you think is going to take up the shield?
I mean, it's going to be Bucky.
It's going to be Bucky?
100% Bucky.
Yeah.
100%.
What about these? We've got some Sam Wilson truthers.
Bucky.
But will he get a haircut?
No.
Yeah, he needs one. Yeah, that mop needs to go.
He has vibranium hair. Read the books.
No, I mean, obviously Cap is, I think it's been gearing up that he's going to die, but I think they're going to let him kind of sail off into the sunset, but I think definitely Bucky's going to take up that mantle, at least for the next series of films. I mean, Sam Wilson may come in after the fact, but I think, at least for now, Bucky's going to be rocking that.
I also
Bucky is the White Wolf, though, so I don't know.
Why can't
He has a
both?
role.
I also liked
that's a lot.
Kate's idea. We talked about yesterday. This is Kate over here, guys. She mentioned that, I mean, gosh, maybe spoilers. I'm just warning. I mean, it's Nurse News Panel. Spoilers, guys. Hopefully I get this right, but she mentioned something that she thinks he's going to kind of fall into like a timeless zone where he sacrifices himself in order to bring back the others, and that way he's just kind of falling so that if necessary, Chris Evans, if he wants, could come back conceivably at any point in time later on or earlier in the time, however the Marvel timeline works out.
Well, I was going to say, we've seen people be recast in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before, just ask War Machine. Do you think that someone else could take over the mantle of Steve Rogers down the line, or is this sort of like a role that's now intrinsically tied?
Honestly, I mean, if you look at some of the stuff they've done in the comics where they aged up Steve to be like an old man, you could easily do that. Where Steve comes back, he's an older gentleman, but he's like the Nick Fury at this point, kind of leading the charge.
So who should play Old Man Cap?
Robert Redford. Oh, shit.
Can we just CGI him? I don't know.
Yeah, no, they only know how to CGI people younger based on every Marvel movie so far.
But
Michael Douglas, Robert Downey Jr.
I think we should just wait till he's old.
I mean, they'll still be making Marvel movies
yeah,
We know they will.
30, 40 years from now. Phase 19.
Yeah.
Infinity Babies. But let's transition from the MCU to the small screen, not MCU specifically. I was shocked this week to hear that Astro City is getting a television series. See, that's the response I expected. Who here has read Astro City and enjoys that comic book?
All right, 5 of us.
I wish TV executives had seen that beforehand. It's a fantastic series by Kurt Busiek. It's sort of like an alternate world where there's like loosely connected stories about superheroes. I'm very excited to see this come to television, but I think we're reaching something of a superhero glut. There's so many shows, as much as I love them. Is there another comic out there you think would be maybe better suited for television than Astro City? Because I think there's plenty of ways to get your superhero fix on TV right now for more recognizable faces.
You mind if I jump in on that one?
Please.
There's a comic right now, I think it's through Boom. It's only about 2 issues out, but it's called Abbott. It's essentially Black Lois Lane in the 70s discovering like paranormal ghosts. It's effing awesome, and it's one of those things, like I said, it's only 2 issues in, I believe, but if you're looking for like, getting out of that superhero rut and looking for something else that comics can bring to us, I would definitely check that out as a good thing to adapt.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing more superhero stuff if they do it in unique ways, like what B Comp is saying, or something along the lines of Legion. I think Legion is just hit the nail on the head perfectly to kind of like still bring those superhero characters and whatever in those worlds in, but make it unique and different so that it's not like I'm constantly talking about DC versus MCU all the time. It's refreshing. And if they can do more of that, I'm cool. I just don't necessarily need another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., another Jessica Jones, another, I don't. That's it.
Is there a comic you would like to see make the leap to TV?
No.
All right. Not even Firebrand?
No. Well, I mean, personally, for my bank account, yes. But, no, I mean, Firebrand is different, though, Dan, because they're not superheroes. They're witches.
Ah.
Woo! But I mean, just like, I like more of I'm ready to go down, like, more of an indie path with our heroes than just seeing the ones that I grew up with over and over again.
And I think that there are countless comic book TV shows and movies in development that aren't pegged to either DC or Marvel. The problem is they've just been in development for years. Like one, technically DC is an imprint on Vertigo, a comic called Scalped. It's fantastic. It's about sort of an undercover crime operation and like undercover cops on a Native American reservation, and it's really well done, sprawling crime drama, supposedly coming to WGN sometimes in the next 50 years, who knows?
Jason Aaron on that one.
I don't know. Yeah, Jason Aaron. If you like his work, you should read Scalped.
You know what? Death would be good.
Just like to happen to us, or like
Death, the comic, the Neil Gaiman comic, would be a good adaptation, I think. Or what was that one offshoot? Like you had the Sandman, but then you had
The Endless?
The Endless. Like an Endless series would be really, really. Again, you'd need to have the right budget and
just do it animated.
But
Just do it animated. And
I don't know if I want to see that animated. I wouldn't mind seeing that actually like live action.
I don't trust anyone to do it live action because Brian Fuller will leave that 2 episodes in.
I mean, it's a tough one. That one's would be hard. But I think who saw West? Like my example for all of that is like, look at how good Westworld's done and how amazing that is, based off of a very cheesy but very good movie back in the 70s. So, I don't know. I think you could do it as long as you got the right people involved. The problem is, who would those people be?
There's a lot of good image books out right now that would be perfect for adaptations, like East of West or Descender. You know, those are all really like self-contained, their own universe. They've got their own mythology kind of built out, and you've got like really good people behind it, like Jeff Lemire or Jonathan Hickman, or even like Why the Last Man. Although that is like technically like a DC book, a Vertigo book, and it's been in production hell forever. I would love to see Why done properly on the small screen.
You're welcome. I will take it of that. So we don't have that much time left, and I want to leave time for you folks to ask some questions. So think about your questions, and we'll have you line up in an orderly fashion. But before we do that, now look, we put out a lot of content each and every day, 7 days a week, and what you see is the finished product. But we don't always stick the landing on the first try. We're like Spider-Man right after you realize he can do whatever a spider
stick
can.
The landing, Dan.
Well, look, not all of us can be the Kerry Strug of the internet. Some of us have to be a worse gymnast. Gymnast? I ran here from Burbank. So we put together a little blooper reel for you that we'd like to show. We didn't already show that, right?
No, we
Oh,
haven't.
thank God.
Showbot has not approved this.
Be an all-you-can-eat buffet of egg on my face. All right. Hello there. What is your name and what is your question?
It's Renate.
Hey, Renate, what's your question?
What is everybody's? Oh, sorry. What is your favorite anime and why?
What is our favorite anime and why? Jess?
Dan and I recently exchanged texts to each other about the fact that Fooly Cooley is coming back. I am so excited. Why do I like it? I don't know, because it's nuts. I just like it. I like all the characters. I like the weird world that it is in, where it's like really boring, but then all this crazy stuff happens. I love Conti. I love all of it. That's probably my favorite more modern one. I've got some old school ones like Vampire Hunter, like the typical ones that you get introduced to the first time. I think out of all of the older ones, my favorite's probably Ranma 1/2. I really like that entire series, including the movies. Yeah, it's kind of mine.
Well, you can find a lot more anime on the Dan Cave. Several episodes will guide you there. This year, a lot of amazing anime celebrating its 30th anniversary. Akira, Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah, Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
Me
but
too.
lately I've been thinking about, I really am overdue for a rewatch of Fruits Basket. Yeah, and if you don't know Fruits Basket, I urge you to correct the mistakes that have led you to this point in your life.
You know what? I'm also going to jump in and say Azumangadayo.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Azumangadayo. Yeah, that one, it's just so subtly hilarious. And they managed to translate that from the manga to the anime, and I love it. God, there's so many good ones. I forgot.
There are.
I'm gonna have to say Fushigi Yuki.
Fushigi Yuki?
Because I watched it at a very important, I think I was 13. It's got a character who loves food. It's got sexy threesomes. It's got time travel. It's got...
Is this a club from Stefan on SNL?
It's got everything. But it was like, as a 13-year-old, I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I really like it. There's a prophecy and everyone's smooching, so that was my favorite one.
Anyone else?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to pass on that, but also plug Dan Cave. There's a new episode about mecha anime that's very good, so check that out on youtube.com/nerdist.
If you like giant robots, it's a good place to start.
I will watch that for sure. My favorite, I can't remember the name. Someone help me out with this, but it's about this girl who basically ships all the boys around her, and they all have crushes on her, but she ships them. There's like 4 boys in it.
Boys Over Flowers?
No.
Wait, say it again? Kiss Him, Not Me. Yeah, that one. Kiss Him, Not Me. I love it. It's so it's like, yeah, it's kind of just like adorable that she kind of ships all these boys and they're all after her, and it's really cute.
Wait, is she shipping the boys with the other boys?
With each other, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
It's
Yeah,
like,
it's awesome.
it's LARPing meets fan fiction.
It's so great. I love it. It's so weird. The beginning is problematic because there's some weird like body shaming. Not great. But the rest of the series gets really fun and just silly and adorable. So
Awesome. B-Comp?
Most probably likely just because of my childhood, like either Nausicaa or, ironically enough, like I really love Robotech. I know that's like a bastardization, but I love the Macross saga. I don't care for Southern Cross, but I absolutely love the Embed stuff. So Robotech.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Hello there. What is your name and what is your question?
Hi, I'm Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
And so I'm sure we've all heard the news about Meltdown Comics, but to help it go out a bit on a high note, just what's your favorite memory about Meltdown, or your favorite comic that you got there?
Awesome, thank you. For those of you who don't know, Meltdown Comics, a landmark in Los Angeles for 25 years, where we had our theater, where we put on comedy shows, art shows, all sorts of stuff 7 nights a week, is sadly going out of business. It's part of the changing face of Los Angeles. Please support your local comic book store. Yes, boo luxury condos. Tear them down. It was really a wonderful place. I think my favorite experience there was shortly after I moved to Los Angeles. I didn't really know many people here, and I was just like trying to find a new comic book store, and also I really wanted to play D&D. I hadn't played in a couple of years because it's hard to get people to sit down for that long. And I sat down at a table and just immediately was welcomed into this group, into this wonderful community of people. Made me feel like I had friends and people that I could talk to here. And unbeknownst to me, this was just a weird side note, they turned out to be the stars of The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, two of the people in the group. And I was like, I need to watch more Disney Channel, I guess. Do you all just hang out here? But that's the thing. It didn't matter that they were incredibly famous. They were just people who came there to nerd out about a shared passion. And that was the core of what Meltdown always was for me. Just this wonderful community of people from all walks of life coming together to laugh, to collect things, to spend way too much money on comics and action figures, to record podcasts. The NERDIST podcast started in the attic at Meltdown. They had this little recording studio up there. So it always has a special place in our hearts, and we're sad to see it go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was one of my first hangout spots in LA as well. And then on top of it, that is also where Bizarre States got its start as the podcast. And that is where we had our first on location haunted hunt. Because apparently Meltdown is haunted by an artist that used to live there previous to it being a comic store. And so Bowser and I hung out there until 1 or 2 in the morning, kind of live streaming ourselves and being stupid.
Did you guys find anything spooky?
We didn't see. In general, it was scary just because it was creepy to be in there by ourselves so late at night, and be in an unfamiliar spot. And it was just us. And then on top of it, I don't remember seeing anything or experience anything. Bowser says he did. I can't remember what he said happened. He said he thought he heard somebody talking to him. So I don't know.
So Bowser is haunted. Yeah. Confirmed.
Bowser's haunted. That's not the first. If you guys come to the Bizarre States panel later.
The Bizarre States panel later.
You guys come out to the Bizarre States panel later today, which I think is 4 to 5 or 5
4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Just stay in this room all day.
Yeah, just stay here. We'll bring it up. We'll talk about it then because he'll be with me.
Awesome.
Hello. I went to go, before I worked at NERDIST, I went to go see comedy at Nerd Melt a lot, and I went to see Greg Proops, who does a podcast, Smartest Man in the World, and I love it and him very, very much, and I got to go, and afterwards I went outside, and he was just outside hanging out and started talking to me about musicals because the episode had musical stuff in it, and he was just so nice to me and sort of I was just there as a fan, and it was this place that you could see people that you really admired or meet new friends and things like that, but it was such a welcoming environment, and I just chatted about musicals with this dude that I love, so it was really fun.
Awesome. I want to keep things moving along because we have a couple more questions to get to. Thank you so much for your question, and please check out Meltdown before April 1st. It's still open if you're in the Los Angeles area. Hello, what's your name and what's your question?
My name is Lucy, and real quick, if you haven't seen the anime Blood Sea, it's an amazing horror anime.
It is very good.
Oh my god, someone actually knows what it is. Don't watch it if you have a weak stomach. So I love Harry Potter so much, but I have found recently that I'm feeling pretty done. There's so much content that's being put out there, and the fans are so demanding, and then poor Joe is oh no, I have to put out more content. I have to basically rewrite everything on Twitter because they're demanding so many things. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that, because I love it so much, but I also need it to just be what it is. So what are your thoughts on that?
Go for
I
it.
would. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say that I recently have kind of had a problem with J.K. Rowling's Twitter, and I don't think that her tweeting something should make that part of Harry Potter canon. I feel like she just has a lot of free time on her hands and is now just picking and choosing what she wants to add and take away. And a lot of that is also not working out in favor of her, saying Dumbledore's gay, but then they're not doing that in the movie. So it's a lot of picking and choosing that I don't think helps Harry Potter overall, and I'm kind of having a struggle with that as well. So
I would say that with beyond the books, you can sort of choose which parts of canon you want to embrace and which part you don't. That's the wonderful part about fandom, is that, and the wonderful part about headcanon is you can read into what you want, because regardless of author intent, once it's out there in the world, it's in the hands of the viewers, and they can find all sorts of things in there that you didn't even realize you were putting into it, but that's a way to read it. I think a really great example of this is when someone asked Mark Hamill about Luke Skywalker's sexuality, and he gave a fantastic answer saying that if that's what you're reading into him, then yes, of course he is. Like, he should be a figure for everyone. You should be able to put onto him and take out from him what you need as a fan. And I think that there's sort of with the nature of social media nowadays, there's sort of a direct pipeline to creators, and I think there's a pressure on them that they feel like they have to be constantly supplying new content.
Oh, God damn.
Sir, no more questions, please. We can't have you online.
Get up here. Get up here, Kyle. Good job, Aaron.
But I guess in short, I would say, if it's not for you, you still have the books, you still have the movies, you still have the parts of fandom you love, and you can always reread those or find other things that are adjacent to that fandom and maybe explore new fandoms, because there's so much stuff out there that's just dying for new readers, new viewers, new everything. I apologize if that's not the best answer. It doesn't exactly inspire a lot of hope, but if you don't like it, just ignore it.
I'm not naturally a hopeful person, so that works out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Seems like things are going pretty well.
Yes, they are.
Hey, great.
You there, what's your name and what's your question?
Name is Brian, and
Hi, Brian.
First I just want to say I'm a huge fan of every one of you guys and everything you do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited that we started with video games, because I have a video game related question.
Hell yeah.
Crossover question. I am a gigantic Metal Gear Solid fan.
Snake.
Like original
Metal Gear.
First 1 through 3, and then it kind of starts getting a little foggy, but I love 1 through 3. Thoughts on that becoming a TV show and movie? Sidebar, I heard there was a movie in development at one point, and it was like, no way, or it didn't go anywhere.
It's currently in development at Sony, being directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts, who did Kong Skull Island. So it's on the way. Hopefully Kiefer Sutherland won't play Snake. Look, he's a great voice, but he's busy tackling Christmas trees. Like, we need someone else. But I think a movie is interesting, but I would personally rather see a TV show version. I think you can explore more of its... They can barely fit a coherent plot into a 60-hour game, so they need at least a season to define what the hell the Lolly-Lulelo actually is.
I mean, I absolutely love 5. Like, I don't really care for most of the other games, but 5, I think, was one of the pinnacles of gaming that year. I mean, it's still, Chris, me and Kyle were talking about that the other day, and how it's really awesome. I kind of going back to the video game as a kind of being adapted into a mainstream, like either a small screen or big screen. It's really hard to do that, you know. I mean, I think like Tomb Raider was that, where we're talking about Tomb Raider. It felt like a collection of cutscenes from the video game.
Yeah, that one was tough because when I've seen a lot of good reviews on the latest Tomb Raider, and that actually has me more curious than their own marketing did, because up to that point I was like, I've done this already.
Yeah,
it's
I've
fun.
seen these cutscenes because I played the game, so there's nothing to get me to go to the theater to see it, and especially as games like that, or like Uncharted, are even better than movies, you know? Then at some point it's like, well, the whole point, like, something is lost in translation from that to the other thing. And so for me, I don't know. Like,
The challenge is taking a fundamentally active experience of playing a video game and turning it into a passive experience of sitting there and watching. I mean, you still have the cutscene of putting popcorn in your face, but it's still it's a difficult bridge to gap, because you're not in the driver's seat and you don't want to just watch what Jess was saying, just a bunch of cutscenes. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Folks, I'm being asked to leave the city of Anaheim. Thank you so much for coming here today. We really appreciate it. Before I go, one more time, If you haven't checked out Alpha yet, it's our partnership with Geek and Sundry. We put together all sorts of amazing content, both from, you can get our stuff early, you can get Because Science 2 days early, and you can check out Because Science on its own channel now, youtube.com/BecauseScience, facebook.com/BecauseScience. Kyle's off in his own ecosystem doing weird experiments.
Hey, yeah, don't make it sound weird.
They're pretty weird. Just test tubes on his fingers. It's strange. It's weird. Anywho, if you want to try out Alpha and you haven't done so yet, we have a promo code WTFriday. Gets 2 months free. That's 60 days of free content. If you don't like it, then we'll see you later. But you can always get the same stuff on Nerdist.com for free. But we have exclusive stuff, discounts at the store, all sorts of amazing things. Alpha Book Club with Rachel Hine, where you can talk all about Harry Potter and Bizarre States, an exclusive Bizarre States miniseries. Guys, I can't name everything on the platform. There's just too much incredible content. It's only $5 a month or 2 months free with the promo code WTFriday. Go to projectalpha.com. Thank you again so much for joining us today. We're going to have all sorts of amazing panels in here all day long, so stay seated, hang out with us. If you see us on the show floor, say hi. Have a phenomenal WonderCon. Thank you so much.